I'm Roman with HVAC School, and today we're here to talk about some really cool science facts that you probably forgot about from high school, middle school, or maybe even college. Maybe you didn't learn them at all, which is the whole point of HVAC School. When we look at a big word like thermal conductivity, you kind of space out. You tune out a little bit. What is thermal conductivity? Well, what if I told you that every material, whether styrofoam, plastic, or steel, has different levels of heat transfer, right? They have the ability to transfer heat energy through them to other objects. Right? How do we measure that? We measure that with thermal conductivity. So to give you a baseline here, when we're talking about, let's talk about air, the air you breathe, right? The air that comes out of an HVAC system. That's our baseline, right? We're going to make that our standard measurement for everything we're talking about today. Let's go to the next one here. Compressor oil within my compressor, if it's operating correctly. Compressor oil will actually transfer heat 6 times faster than air. Why is that important? When we talk about things like this, right, as they overheat and is designed to lubricate the internal components, it's important that it absorbs some heat through that process to keep this compressor correctly lubricated and cool. Now, refrigerant does that too, but we're not going to get off topic here. Let's go to our next thing on the list. Water. Water is one of the things that we all universally understand. Water can transfer heat up to 23 times faster than air. Talk about efficiency. We use it in chilled water. We see this a lot in everyday science when it rains outside on a hot sidewalk, and we see that evaporation effect. The next one on our list, the last one, which is what we're here to talk about in the first place, is cold hard steel, right? Steel. Now, if you had to take a guess, and if you've already seen what's behind me, then you probably already know the answer. But steel in itself transfers heat 2,000 times faster than air. Well, why is that important? This product here on the right of me and this one here on the left of me are both made of steel, right? And it's important to understand that because it transfers heat energy 2,000 times faster, that means that anything applied to the outside or any heat on the inside is going to work its way out, right? Why is that important? We're going to get to the science of it. I'm going to take some nice ice here and set it down on each one of these, right? On my steel, my styrofoam, and my plastic. The reason we need to understand thermal conductivity as a whole is that when we're out in the real world, right, we have these things called evaporator coils, right, outdoor heat exchangers, condensing coils. They're made of these metals because of their efficiency and the ability to transfer that heat efficiently, right, in that process of refrigeration. And here you can already see the water is melting. Now, all of these objects are exactly the same temperature in the same space. We've let them equalize. This ice is melting quickly. I'm not applying any additional heat. I'm not breathing on it. I don't have my heat gun fired up yet. This is melting. And why is that? Because the thermal conductivity of this specific material is extremely high, especially when compared to air. My ice is not being touched here or here. It's still in a ice form because it's not able to exchange that temperature, right, with the objects that it's touching. The air does a really poor job of that, and so does the surfaces that this is placed on. However, this is extremely efficient at transferring heat. Almost so that when we look at copper as a whole, it's actually 15,000 times more efficient at transferring heat than air, which again shows you why a lot of our coils are made of copper. So let's look at this under a thermal imager. That heat transfer from the ice cube itself, turning it into water. But if we slide over here from our steel over to our styrofoam cup, nothing, right? And if I move this, there's a small little spot of water that's left on the surface. But if you look at the material as a whole, the only thing that's actually cold is the water sitting on the surface and not the styrofoam underneath. And last but not least is plastic. If we take that ice up, same thing. There's a little bit of water left on it, but actually the spot is colder. So I would say that the heat transfer properties of plastic is better than styrofoam. And these are things maybe that you already understood. But I'm actually here to show you a cool tech tip on how we use thermal imagers and understanding the basic science of heat transfer properties and also thermal conductivity to measure oil within compressors without removing them. It's measuring liquid within an accumulator or oil within an accumulator in places where you can't physically see. Now, sure, in a perfect world, a compressor has a sight glass, maybe an accumulator has a sight glass, but in things that we can't measure or see, we get to use science and the basic principles of science to figure these things out. So I'm going to show you today how to measure the oil on a compressor, how to measure liquid levels or oil levels within an accumulator on places you can't see using science. So you can see it's not even close. When we look at these 3 different objects here, steel, styrofoam, and plastic, you can see here that the ice on the steel never stood a chance. It's completely melted. All of that thermal energy has gone into the steel. It's done the exchange, and now we're just water. Styrofoam, it's still working its way there. We got a little bit of a puddle after about maybe 5-10 minutes. And plastic is probably just as slow. We still have ice on both accounts, and ice is gone. It kind of speaks for themselves as the basics of science surrounding thermal conductivity and the differences between materials and how they transfer heat. But that's not what we're just here to talk about. We're actually here to do some science experiments to show you how this applies to air conditioning. So now for the fun part. So we talked about thermal conductivity, the differences between metals. Let's talk about heat energy. So here I have a nice little acetylene oxygen torch. Less oxygen, more just acetylene, B tank. What I'm doing here is I'm taking a fuel source, I'm igniting it, and I'm transferring energy, right? This energy transfer creates heat. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this torch and I'm going to apply heat to my compressor. By taking this heat energy and putting it into an object, knowing that this material, this metal, transfers heat 2,000 times faster than air, tells me that the heat that I'm applying on this side, the heat energy I'm applying on this side, is going to make it all the way into whatever is on the other side without seeing it. When we know that compressor oil transfers heat 6 times faster than air. So what I'm betting on science-wise here is that the part that is in contact with the oil is going to transfer the heat into the oil itself. And what's going to happen with the other part, heat's going to transfer into the oil on the bottom part. At the air portion, we know that the baseline, it's not very great at transferring heat. And so it's going to take a longer time to equalize the temperature. So we've added the same amount of heat from top to bottom, and I've added a little piece of blue tape here because sometimes that reflection can cause problems with seeing it. But if we stand back here and we look at the compressor as a whole, we can see hot spots. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for dissipation of heat over time. And so the oil within this compressor sits at a specific level, or it sits all the way at the bottom. Either way, the heat that's been applied to the outside of this compressor is eventually going to transfer into the oil on the other side that's touching it over time and cause that temperature to fall back to normal, right? If we look on the other side of the compressor, we can see that it's all stabilized at a different temperature. And so we're betting on the science side of things that the air at the top of this is unable to transfer heat at all, if any at all. And so that slow process of transferring heat to the air refrigerant on the other side of this, as opposed to the oil, is going to create that line of separation. That line of separation is going to tell us this is where the oil is at. This is where the liquid refrigerant might be inside of an accumulator. You can see the differences in temperature, right? And so we've got that line right here. And so I could take a Sharpie if I wanted to and mark it. And you say, well, Roman, how do I know what line level this is supposed to be at? And here's the thing. This isn't designed to then measure the circumference of the compressor and then do some long calculation to figure out exactly how many ounces of oil is in this compressor. It's to determine, is this compressor empty of oil? Does this compressor have halfway filled with oil, right? We know it's not supposed to be higher than the discharge side of things. Or is it all the way down at the bottom? Does it get better after the system runs for a while, right? What happens if I make a correction to the charge and it's running better, right? Do I see that oil level rise? This isn't just about measuring the oil at one time, it's about measuring the oil over time. If I'm troubleshooting something and I want to know where the oil is in that compressor, if this is empty and I make a change to the system, let's say I change out an expansion valve, and then I run the system again and I check this process a second time and I see that the oil level has come up a lot, it's doing a good job, right? I fixed the problem from what I can't see. We can clearly see the separation difference, right? It's that line there. You got a hot spot up here on top. You can still see that it's hot on the top up here as well. So maybe a torch isn't for you, or maybe you don't have access to a torch, or maybe it's in an area of the system where there are heat-sensitive components, and so that's where I say break out the heat gun. Remember, we just have to add heat energy to the outside of this in order to get a better understanding of what is on the other side. Because I understand the transfer properties of steel and heat, right, and thermal conductivity, I can use this to my advantage in almost any and every situation and scenario. You can see here adding heat to the top part. See if I go to a cold part on the accumulator. So we've heated up our accumulator here, as you can see, and we've got a nice big hot spot as opposed to the cold spot down at the bottom. So if we look here on our cutaway, you can see that we have water in this base, right? Mixed with some oil. But what happens when I move this water, you're going to see the heat being transferred from the wall into the water itself, right? The swirls that you see is the hot water on top and the cold water on the bottom mixing. As you can see, I swirl this, it's pulling heat away from that wall into the water itself. The same thing happens with oil within the system. This is an equilibrium effect that's taking place here, to where the heat from the wall is going into the water or the oil within that accumulator or even liquid refrigerant to the point where it's going to equalize. And if we go on the outside, it gives you a pretty clear contrast between, right, what may be one temperature as opposed to the other. And that level is here. So if I take it and I mark it right there. So now we know we can use science to pretty much see and do anything that we need to. With this and this, both measuring the oil level inside of a compressor, or maybe it's a liquid or oil level within an accumulator, using science to see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see without understanding thermal conductivity and how heat energy moves within systems. This is the basic fundamentals of air conditioning and what makes it really work the way that it does, efficiently. So use these tech tips out in the field, find new ways to diagnose new problems using what you understand as basic science. See you guys on the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you're willing, give this video a thumbs up and drop us a comment. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to stay updated with all of our future videos. And as a quick reminder, HVAC School isn't just a YouTube channel. Dive deeper with us at our main website, hvacrschool.com. Curious for more knowledge on the go? We've got you covered. Tune into the HVAC School podcast, available on all your favorite podcast apps. And while you're at it, join our thriving Facebook group. Also, don't miss out on our free mobile applications available for both iPhone and Android. We're all about community. For techs, by techs.